when a strange comet-like figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It was all over the media. John, who was out shopping grocery with his son, received a call from Homeland Security Department. Feeling hesitant, he picked it up.
This is a presidential alert. It is not a test. You've been selected for emergency shelter relocation.
Feeling uneasy, he rushed back home with his son. Back home, the neighbors were watching a live broadcast of the spectacular picture of the comet falling. Just when everyone was fascinated, the house suddenly shook, and John hurriedly ran out of the house to check, and a group of frightened birds quickly flew over his roof. In the next second, this shockwave frightened everyone. The latest news came on the TV that just now the comet fragment fell into the middle of Florida. This fragment is only the size of a football field, but its power cannot be described in words. The surrounding cities were destroyed in an instant, and the shockwave exceeded 2,000 miles. Everyone panicked. John received an alert again. This time, even the name of their family of 3 appeared on the TV screen and reminded them that they must arrive at the airbase before 9:45 p.m. And with the QR code, they can board the plane and fly directly to the emergency shelter. Then John received the QR code. He didn't dare to delay and hurriedly packed his luggage. Rushed to the airbase. When they reached there, it was already evening, and the gate to the base was already crowded with people. Only the people useful to the country were chosen. The state hoped that after the disaster, these people could help human society rebuild its homeland. John is a construction engineer, so his family is chosen. He squeezed in front of the soldier and showed the QR code. The soldier scanned it and let them go, telling them to hurry to hangar 33 to board the plane. But when John's family came to the hangar, the wife found that their son's insulin was gone. John said that it might have fallen in the car, and while there was still some time, he immediately went out to get it and asked his wife to wait here and don't go away. But when John didn't return, she anxiously went to the soldier to explain the situation, hoping that the soldier would help her. But when the soldier learned that her son was diabetic, he immediately used the walkie-talkie to contact his superiors, and as a result, the mother and son were taken to the headquarters. The female officer told her that people with chronic medical conditions could not board the plane. The mother begged hard, but it was useless. The mother and son were kicked out, and when John came to the hangar, an accident happened. Hundreds of thousands of people rushed to the runway like a tidal wave, some armed with guns and engaged in a fierce shootout with soldiers. A bullet accidentally injured a soldier who was refueling. The soldier collapsed, and fuel spilled onto the ground. John saw that, immediately turned around and shouted,
"Get out! Hey, everybody get out! There's fuel leak, it's not safe!"
And the airport instantly fell into chaos. When John ran to the exit, suddenly, his wife heard the explosion outside the base and were immediately frightened and pulled her son to the car to wait for her husband. Suddenly, she found that her son's blood sugar was low and he needed insulin urgently, so she had no choice but to leave a note and take her son to the pharmacy. As soon as the medicine was found, a group of thugs broke in with guns in their hands. The mother and son were so frightened that they immediately crouched down and slowly crawled towards the exit. But just then, a black boy stopped their way, and the woman knelt on the ground and begged him to spare him. Fortunately, he was a good guy. He reached out and pulled her up and told her to leave quickly. The woman saw a couple sitting in a car parked on the side of the road and hurriedly ran over with her son. Asking for help, hoping for a ride, they agreed. However, what she didn't expect was that when the car was halfway there, the man found that the mother and son were wearing bracelets on their hands, and he was ill-willed because he knew that only the people wearing these bracelets could board the plane and fly to the emergency shelter. So he parked the car on the side of the road, forcibly dragged the woman out of the car, took off her bracelet, and then left with her son. The woman chased like crazy, but to no avail. She wanted to get help, but no one stopped. On the other side, after John ran out of the base, he finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the note left by his wife. But the car was jammed and he had to walk out. Soon he found a van. He asked the driver to give him a ride, and the driver agreed. On his wife's side, she cried as she walked along the highway. Fortunately, not long after, a well-wisher was willing to take her to the base, and she hurriedly explained the situation to the soldiers, who let her go inside. In the end, with the help of a staff member, she successfully found her son, and the mother and son hugged each other and cried bitterly. It turned out that when the couple entered the base, the little boy cried and said to the soldiers, "They are not my parents." The soldier immediately took out a scanner to scan the bracelet, and when it turned out that the child was not theirs, the soldier immediately escorted them away, then comforted the little boy and sent him to the tent where the mother and child met.
After finding a public phone booth, the woman called John, who was already waiting at home. Hearing a call from his wife, he immediately drove to their location. and the family was finally reunited. When they got home, they saw the news that one of the largest comet fragments would hit the Earth soon. This impact will affect the whole world. They can't stay. John had heard that there was still a shelter in Greenland, so they have to go there as soon as possible. But the old man was unwilling to go with them. He wanted to stay here. The daughter could only say goodbye to her father with tears in her eyes, and the family of 3 drove to the airport. The sky was already turning red, time is running out, and highway was jammed. Just as they were confused, a meteorite rain suddenly started falling from the sky. John turned around, drove the car to the woods, and came to a bridge. He hurriedly took his wife and children to hide under the bridge and escape. When the meteorite rain stopped, the family came out and continued on their way. It was already night, and they saw that the last plane was about to take off, and John immediately broke through the fence and started driving on the runway right in front of the plane.
He's coming right at us!
Know what I'm doing? Stop. Come on.
The plane was finally forced to stop by him, and the pilot stepped down and scolded him. John begged him to let them in. The pilot, though reluctantly, eventually agreed. The next day, the plane came to Greenland, and when they saw the scenery outside the window, everyone finally had a smile on their face. They saw the hope of life. At this exact moment, comet fragment fell from the sky, exploded instantly. It shook the plane violently. The plane was directly affected by the shockwave and lost power. Both engines failed, and the pilot could only cut off the power to let the plane glide, avoid the mountain wind, and then force a forced landing. The huge impact resulted in the death of the pilot on the spot. There were only 10 minutes left before the largest debris hit the Earth. Everyone desperately ran in the direction of the refuge base. Fortunately, they met the troops on the way, got on the military vehicle, and went to the base. And as soon as they reached, they heard the alarm. And the largest comet fragments had passed through the atmosphere and smashed into the Earth. In less than a minute, most of the globe was left with nothing but dust. 9 months later, the dust slowly cleared, and the blast doors were finally opened. All that appeared in front of them was a wasteland, and the task of rebuilding their homes could only fall on the shoulders of these elites.